Good day, ladies and gentlemen. It's Eric Coffin. I'm here at the November 4th, 2022 Metal Investor Forum in Vancouver. Uh, I'm here with Morgan Poliquin. He's the CEO of Almadex Minerals. Almadex is it's a company formed by a spin-off from another company I've followed for years, but Almadex is a very interesting deal. It's one of these companies that uh, it has way more assets than most people realize. And one of the reasons I like it is Morgan has just started 2 drill programs, so there's going to be some good news. So we'll talk about that. But the company basically is trading only slightly above the cash that's in its bank account. It also has some securities that it's earned from optioning out projects. It's got a lot of projects, I think like 20, 25 projects. And that includes 3 or 4 royalties on basically feasibility level, pre-feasibility level projects. Those royalties in and of themselves are quite valuable when and if any of those mines gets permits. Those things become very valuable very fast. And on top of all that, Almadex is sort of the parent company of the company-owned drilling company that they have. They have half a dozen rigs, and the Poliquin started doing this years ago, partially so that they had rigs available, but also it was a good way to get 1, cheaper drilling, but 2, train crews and have good people working for them in Mexico. But just as an added bonus, I believe the company's made about $1 million with the drill company this year. That's not really, the drill company was always and is still intended to kind of back up their own exploration. But that's just one more thing on top of a bunch of things. I mean, to me, this is a deal with very low downside risk, but I wanted Morgan to maybe to touch on the projects that you're starting to drill right now. I mean, there was a little bit of information in news releases, but not a huge amount. Can you give us like a thumbnail of each one of those? So say Davis Paradise, what maybe some specifics on what you're going to drill on with the program you just started?
Sure, excellent. Yeah, thank you very much, Eric. Well, we're in Nevada. Where that project is. We're started drilling there today. We just got some snow, so hopefully we'll be able to keep drilling for some time. But we've got a whole bunch of targets that have emerged over some prospecting. But the target initially is a big alteration zone, and it's across the valley. I think it's 4 kilometers away from Paradise Peak, which a roughly 2 million ounce deposit, which was mined by FMC. And there hasn't been a lot of exploration in this area for many years. There was a flurry at that time in the 80s and 90s. So we're kind of identified this target, and we've found some veins that sort of stem off from that. And we did a little bit of drilling earlier this year. We hit I'm just going off the top of my head here, but 12 meters, I think it was, of just over 2 grams gold in one of the veins. And we think it's part of a series of veins. And there's other structures that we found that are striking at very high angles. So it's a complex series of veins, both prospective for gold and silver. And then we found a sinter. We didn't. There's been some past work in this area, but the sinter was apparent to us. And we're going to start drilling actually in that part of the property. And then the southern part is this big high sulfidation system. So it's a big project with a lot of different targets, and it seems complicated in terms of the number of targets and how they fit together, but we view that as a good thing. And that's the perfect situation for early stage cheap drilling to be applied, because it's the sort of multi-target project where you could really expensive drilling, you could blow your brains out on one target before you even get to the other one. So,
Right.
so that's kind of the idea of using your own drills inexpensively early on to test them. And then in Mexico, we have another project that's a little bit similar in terms of a multitude of targets. There's kind of a gold target with some, again, high sulfidation alteration, and there's also veins there. So it's smaller scale, I think, but similar type of setup of multiple targets. So again, we've defined some things that we think are really interesting to do some early stage testing, and we're just, again, inexpensively bring a drill rig out and let the truth machine kind of speak.
Right. And these programs are a couple thousand meters each, give or take, something like that?
Yeah, we've got a lot to do at the Davis Paradise project that we certainly want to accomplish this year, and hopefully, with the snow, can do as much as we can. But that'll be an ongoing thing. Whereas with the San Pedro property in Mexico, this is kind of more of a conceptual, make it or break it type of test to see if it's there or not type of deal.
Okay, and I know you actually have a pretty large property package. You have 25, 30 projects, whatever it is. Are there others sort of in the pipeline mentally where you're like, yeah, we want to try that one and that one and that one ourselves?
There are. There's a couple in Mexico. I think we might have mentioned them in an earlier kind of what we would like to do this year news release. So there's 2 in Mexico that we'd like to drill test, and so in the background we're doing preparatory work always, the permitting and social and environmental aspects of getting ready to drill. And so yeah, definitely. And I see that as an ongoing thing. The other thing, maybe you're going to ask, but I want to say is we're hoping to get back to our roots, which is generation. And I've kind of brought that. Many people may know that in Mexico for the last 3 years, you can't stake new claims. You can't generate new projects in areas where there aren't claims. So that's our preference and way of generating projects, going into new terrains. And we're getting back to that knitting in Nevada and the Great Basin in general. So I'd like that pipeline to start growing as well.
Okay, so that's, yeah, and this is one thing you should know about, if you don't know the company, Morgan and his father, Duane, sort of the father-son team. Between them, they have several bona fide discoveries, and like real discoveries. I'm talking like ore bodies, essentially. They have several, and I guess you guys just got back 100% control of probably one of your earliest discoveries, I guess, right? I mean,
yeah, that's right, and that's actually a predecessor to our company. We did an amalgamation, and I'm going to say, it's so long ago, early 2000s, and that there was a portfolio of projects that were from the Yukon that were generated by that company that we amalgamated with, and one of them was this zinc project, and it's it had a historic resource, it had a lot of drilling, and it was one of these kind of situations that often happens in the mining sector. There was a deal whereby a 60% interest, originally with a mining arm of an oil company, got locked up in a joint venture. And then that went through various iterations. We were sitting on the 40%, and finally it went into receivership such that we could buy it back. So we were able to consolidate that, and really, apart from some resource estimates, no real physical work has been done on that project since the 80s, and it's got a handsome, historic resource that we hope to upgrade here into something we can talk about with a 43-101 compliant resource. But it's zinc, silver, and very good access off the Alaska Highway.
Okay, and that's this is something in the relative near term. You think I don't know what you need to do to get it to 43-101. I mean, do you need to go in and drill a few holes, or is it just a data thing?
It's been. There was a recent 43-101 resource done by the partner that went into receivership, and that's not that long ago, so that's less than a decade ago. So there's kind of a basis there, but our independent consultants have been to the project and found the core, which is in excellent shape, and have been able to remove core in order to resample the historic drilling. And as far as I understand it, with our independent guys, that's sufficient for us to be able to, get with a first pass 43-101 compliant resource. So that's what we're hoping to do, and it is my hope that can be done perhaps before the end of the year.
Okay. Well, there you have it. I mean, a large new resource on the base metal project in the Yukon. 2 drill programs just started. Essentially, almost the entire market cap is backed up by the bank account, and they've got 25 or 30 projects, plus three or four, late stage royalties. It's really not an expensive deal at all when you take all that into account. It trades on the venture, symbol DEX, trades in the US, AAMMF. Almadex Minerals. Thanks for coming by, Morgan. I mean, I got a feeling you guys are going to have a much less boring market here next year.
Well, I appreciate that.
It's just one of those deals where I think your time has come. Feels that way to me.
Well, thank you very much. Appreciate being on.
Okay, thanks, guys.